Ever wonder why some websites convert like crazy while others barely get any leads or struggle? The difference often comes down to two things: strategy and data. And yes, while I talk about web strategy like every single week on this podcast, today I want to talk a little bit about something that's just as important: your data. Because the truth is, without really understanding your numbers, even the best strategy is just an educated guess. Welcome to Website Design Made Simple, the podcast for busy small business owners who want a high performing website that converts and sells their offers, even while they're sleeping. Because you deserve to have a strategic and beautiful website that truly represents your brand and positions you as the expert that you are. I'm your host, Jenny B., web designer and creative director at Jenny B Designs, where we believe that your website is the one thing that makes you sales and builds your brand at the same time. Ready to say goodbye to a website that you're embarrassed to share? And hello to a money-making, personality-packed powerhouse? Let's head into today's episode. Today is part one of a three-part conversion series. We're going to start with what three pieces of software you need on your website to start tracking the data. And we'll touch on kind of the data that you can look at through each of these three tools. And then next week, I'm going to talk about how to use that information to boost your conversion. And we're going to do all of this in a really easy to digest way, because I know when I start talking about data and tracking and numbers, I feel like sometimes people's eyes just glaze over and they just can't hear it. I'm going to give you some strategies that you can do yourself and that can help you understand those numbers and make your website work a little bit better for you. And like I mentioned earlier, every single week, I'm always talking about conversion. That's kind of my thing. And if you want to learn a little bit more about conversions on your website as it comes to your design piece of things, you can go back and listen to episode 4, 3 best practices for high converting website design. That is a super popular episode, and there's so much rich data in there when it comes to talking about the strategy and design piece of your website. Same goes with the 6 secrets to a money-making homepage, episode 15. But today, we're talking all about the numbers and the data. Before we get into the episode, in case we haven't met, quick intro on me. I'm Jenny. I own Jenny B Designs, and we are a brand and web design studio. And my passion is helping small business owners just like you really design a beautiful but strategic website that works for you and that attracts your ideal clients and makes you money. And we do this by full website redesigns as well as website audits to help you understand what you need to do a little bit better on your site to make more conversion. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. Before I start talking about the tools and the tracking, I just want to get really clear on what we are actually measuring. And this all starts with defining what a conversion means for your business. A conversion isn't just a sale. A conversion really is any meaningful action that moves someone closer to becoming a client. This could be signing up for your email list, those irresistible freebies that I talk about. It could be filling out your contact form. Maybe it's booking a discovery call, downloading your freebie, making a purchase, buying your course, starting a free trial if you have a product with a free trial, registering for your webinar, learning more if you're a nonprofit about how to volunteer or how to get involved. And where most people get stuck is that they try to track and optimize for all of these things at once. But just like when it comes to your website navigation, when everything is important and nothing is important, you want to narrow it down. And when we're talking about conversions, I want you to think about choosing one primary conversion goal just to start. That doesn't mean that we don't care about all of the other metrics, but we really want to get clear on what is that main action we want our visitors to take on our website. Start there. And as you really define this, then you can grow. But I'm trying to share with you a way to make this easy to digest. If you are a service provider, I work with a lot of strategists. Their primary conversion is booking a discovery call. If you have a course, it might be that you want people to sign up for your waitlist. Or it might just be that you want people to click buy and buy your course. And so understanding what that one action is important. And then I want you to talk about realistic expectations. And we all like to aim high, but I want you to know what is achievable. And it really comes down to your industry. You can definitely Google to get a better idea of what a typical conversion rate looks like for your specific industry. For a few kind of examples to give you, some ranges for email signups. I would say that the average email signup for a website is between 1 and 5%, depending on what that email signup is. Is it for your newsletter? Is it for an opt-in that is really doing well? What is it? That really makes a difference. For a contact form submission, it's probably around 2 to 3, again, depending on the industry. For the discovery calls, maybe 1 to 3. This is a little bit more of a heavy lift. Someone's having to book a call, so it's a little bit lower. And then for sales, if you're selling a digital product, probably around 1 to 4 for that cold traffic. Again, when you're selling a product, it's more about the amount of people, the traffic that you can get in because the conversion rate is so low. Now, these are just averages. And your actual conversion rate really depends on your traffic, like who's coming to your site. Are you attracting the right people? Then your clarity, your offer clarity. Do people really understand what you're offering? And then your prices. Higher prices mean lower conversion rate. And for me, for myself as an example, I'm offering a service that is a larger investment. So that means a lower conversion rate. The goal really isn't to hit this magic conversion number. It is to understand your baseline and then just improve from there. Take a second. I just shared with you what a conversion is. What is your primary conversion goal? What is the main action that you want people to do on your website? And then to get your actual conversion rate, you are going to take the number of people who took that action that you wanted them to do on your website and divide it by the total number of people who came to your website. And that is your conversion rate. Now we know what we're measuring. Let's talk about how to measure it. There are tools that I suggest that you have on your website. The first one is Google Analytics, and I talk about this a lot. When someone works with me, I set up Google Analytics as a baseline to really understand what's going on with their website right now and what's going to happen in the future, and then how we can modify changes. It's easy to install, especially if you have a WordPress website. You can use a plugin like Monster Insights or Google SiteKey, and both of those will really walk you through the steps. And if you're using Squarespace or Wix, it's a matter of just grabbing the code and installing it in the proper place on your website. So get that installed if you haven't. There are a bunch of tutorials online that can walk you through that. That's the first thing that you need to connect. And the second thing you need to connect is the Google Search Console. You need the analytics account first, and then you'll go over to Google Search Console. And this one involves one more step where you have to add some records to where your domain is held. Wherever you bought your domain, be it Namecheap, which I always recommend, or GoDaddy, or wherever you purchased it. You're going to need to log in there and add a couple of records to make sure that your Google Search Console is active. Once you do have those there, you're going to want to take a look and see where your visitors are coming from. Is it from search? Is it social media? Is all your work on LinkedIn actually working? Or is it just direct traffic, people just typing your information in? Or maybe it's from referrals. If you've listed on a couple of different websites, maybe they're sending you traffic. This is really important because it shows where your marketing is actually working. And you want to understand, if you're spending all that time on LinkedIn, are you getting the traffic? Because if not, then maybe that's not where you need to put your time. You also want to look at the page views and the time on page, understanding which pages people are visiting and how long that they're staying on that page if they're really engaged. I tend to find people spend a lot of time on my services page. That's where they're really learning the nitty-gritty about me. And when it kind of starts to get real, that's where people are spending a lot of time. And then you also want to just understand the bounce rate. And this is a little bit different with GA4. It's now called engaged sessions, that you can tell how many people are going to your website, getting there and saying, well, yeah, this resonates and sticking around, versus someone who comes over and just leaves right away. You'll also want to take a peek at the user flow. This is how people are going through your website, moving along, they're getting lost, and then the pages that they are leaving. And once you got Google Search Console, you can easily find, it's going to show you what keywords people are actually finding you from. What are they searching on Google, and what are you showing up as? And then you can also find the pages that are really doing well and that people are going to from search. By looking at all this data, we can then start to make some informed decisions about what's going on with our website. Once you have Google Analytics and Google Console installed, you can understand what is happening on your website. Now I want to show you how to learn why things are happening on your website. And to do this, and these are all free tools, Google Analytics, Google Console, I want you to use a tool like Hotjar. I want you to be able to get a heat map to understand what your visitor is doing as they go and browse through your website. It's really neat. It's kind of like a security camera on your website, and you're videoing what's happening. And it shows you exactly how people are interacting with your website through the heat maps where people click and scroll. And there are session recordings, and there are things that you can understand because you're learning where people click or tap on mobile, how far they scroll on your page, where they move their mouse, what they scroll over completely. And it's good to put these heat maps on pages like your homepage, your service, and your about, and especially the sign-up forms. When you have a tool like this, you can see these recordings and you will see these colors, and red spots really show the high engagement. Blue spots have low engagement. And it's really interesting to see what people are actually doing on your website. To recap what I just shared with you, the 3 tools that you should have on your website are Google Analytics, Google Search Console, and Hotjar. And once you have those set up, you can really better understand your visitors' behaviors and their pattern. And you're able to look at that data. When you look at that data, patterns start coming out. And you might discover that people aren't actually seeing your calls to action. Maybe they don't see the buttons. Maybe your important content below where people stop scrolling. Maybe mobile users can't click your menu items, or your pop-up comes up and they can't click that X. Major pet peeve. Maybe people are just confused. These are all things that you can discover when you have these 3 tracking softwares on your website. Today's episode was all about sharing with you what you need to have in place to start getting that data. And I touched a little bit upon what data you can look at. But in the next episode, I'm going to really dive deep and talk more about the data from each of these tools and give you some example about what might be going on and what you can do to fix what you're seeing. And you can think about on your website as I'm sharing this and you're looking at your data, you can make the correlation. Yes, this is happening on my website, and this is what we might need to do to track it and make some changes and see if it helps it boost your conversion rate. So your homework for this week until next week's episode is to set up those 3 pieces of software. And next week, I'm going to really dive deep and share with you what is going on your website and what you can do to fix it. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll talk to you next time. And that wraps up another episode of Website Design Made Simple. I hope you found the insights shared in this episode valuable and takes you one step closer to creating a website that attracts more of your ideal clients and builds your brand. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a minute to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or a rating on Spotify. Your review will help us reach more small business owners like you who are ready to make more money with their website. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.